Okay, I am at the campground waiting for the bus to show up at 9:44 so I can go to the city and see the Holocaust Museum. I bought tickets. I don't have enough money for lunch, so I got an orange and an apple and some beefaroni packed in here. And I'm staying at this campground, and it's still $67 a night, but it is like cold as fuck out there. And so I've been sleeping in my car at the campground for $67 a night, and it's all I can afford. And I'm like dressed in layers, and I've got my Target boho dress on and my leggings, which my ex-spirit daughter told me not to do. It was a fashion no-no, and I say because it's cold as fuck. So I'm gonna go to the Holocaust Museum. If I don't see anything else on this trip, I'm gonna see the Holocaust Museum. And I found another one of my masks, my daffodils, which is so perfect for spring. And of course it doesn't match my Target boho dress, but you know what? I don't give a flying fuck. This is spring yellow pansies and daffodils. Here we are at the Holocaust Museum. There's quite a line. I've got a ticket. It's a senior ticket. I don't know if I qualify. This plaque on the outside of the museum says, "We who did not go their way owe them this." We must make sure that their deaths have posthumous meaning. We must make sure that from now on until the end of days, all humankind stares this evil in the face. And only then can we be sure that it will never rise again. Ronald Reagan, 40th President of the United States, October 5th, 1988. This one says, "The things I saw beggar description. The visual evidence and the verbal testimony of starvation, cruelty, and bestiality were so overpowering. I made the visit deliberately in order to be in a position to give first-hand evidence of these things if ever, in the future, there develops a tendency to charge these allegations to propaganda." General Dwight David Eisenhower, Supreme Commander of the Allied Forces, Ohrdruf concentration camp, April 15th, 1945. This is for all you liars who say that the Holocaust never happened. This is the Dachau concentration camp at Liberation.
restore people by their effort of God and their effort.
Well, I've returned to my camping site and I am completely exhausted. Physically, because it was a lot of walking and standing. This museum is for me, if I did nothing else on this trip to Washington, D.C., the fact that I came here to see the Holocaust Museum made all of this worth it. Here I am complaining about my ice cold. It's so cold here, and I've got this tent camping site, and whining about, how I only have $11 in my account, so I have to pack fruit and ravioli to take with me and eat on the train. But in truth, I am so grateful. When I see and hear the stories, the devastation, throughout the years, we have been sent many antichrists to try to take us down. And to see the level of propaganda and the people who buy into this idea that there's a master race and everyone else is fucked, and the amount of devastation and destruction in the wake of that mentality. And I see that today. I see that happening with, they have an exhibit there on Burma, and I wish I could have gone in, but by the time I got done with just being emotionally overwrought, when you're like you're like an empath, and I saw it there at the very last in the museum. There's a little theater there where you get to hear some of the stories of the survivors, just the tragic stories, and the people in the audience. And I could see that a lot of people were just there to fill a space. They were not touched. They could have cared less. I'm really not sure why they came. But the people that came to the museum to hear the stories and understand what the Holocaust was all about, and to see the pain that these evil people have caused just to destroy people, just to destroy good people, and be touched by that. I couldn't help but just cry. I mean, it's just, and I guess that's one of my spiritual gifts, is to be an empath, to understand people's emotions and feelings. And I could see that there were other empathic people in the audience crying, just emotionally distraught to know the lengths to which people will go to destroy good people. And I see that happen. I see that happen on these, when I was being targeted on Facebook, cyberbullied by these people, just because I didn't believe the way that they believed, because I wasn't white, and to hear family members repeating this awful, terrible propaganda, knowing that, in Missouri, there was this, in Kansas City, there was a Russian propaganda channel spouting their stuff. And to hear these people with their, I don't know, white Christian nationalist ideals, believing that they're better than everyone else, that it's okay for you to conquer someplace in the name of religion, to be a missionary and take everything that's not yours, and to just murder innocent indigenous peoples, and it happens all over this earth. And it's not just white people, it's evil people who think that they're better than everyone else. And what is especially heinous to me is the fact that I see politicians today in the United States saying the Holocaust never happened. How could you deny that? And so it was an emotionally exhausting day for me. Just emotionally exhausting. And to think about, especially Facebook, man. If you people do Facebook or Instagram, I am convinced those things are of the devil. And the stuff the memes that I was starting to read, and I could just see it. It was just so evil, so awful. And then just, like my husband's family especially, their life was all about Facebook. And they would literally come from all corners of the country in their RVs to camp out around a campfire. And then what they do, they'd be looking at their Facebook on their phones instead of talking to each other. And one day, I was watching TikTok by then. By then, I had canceled my Facebook account because I'd been just so cyberbullied by those people in St. Charles. And Facebook was down and Instagram was down for like 17 hours. And they were just twiddling their thumbs. They didn't know what to do. I mean, these people are spiritually lost. And they're spiritually lost because they've been brainwashed by the devil on things like Facebook, believing that these memes that they read about sweeping up, Chinese people sweeping up their hair into their bread are true. I don't, and I see that happening. I see, specifically Hitler, blaming the Jews for the Depression, the fact that the Germans lost the World War I, and they see Jewish people coming up in the ranks, as scholars and thriving, and they want that. And I see that now. I see that now with these white Christian nationalists, seeing people like Ketanji Jackson becoming Supreme Court Justice, and they're just so mad because they're losing power. These old white GQP politicians that they've got to stand up and walk out because it's just too much for them to deal with. And, ultimately, I am so proud of her. And I'm so proud of these politicians of color who are coming forth and standing up, and women standing up for what is right. And to just hear, especially my sister-in-law, oh my God, she's talking about, she was talking about how she was so glad to be able to move to Florida and have a place to live because she was getting kicked out of the state park where she was working because she refuse to get the vaccine. And she was literally blaming COVID on the Haitian refugees coming across the border. And I saw that, in the stories of the Holocaust, the story of the St. Louis. Was a ship that had about 900 passengers trying to escape the Holocaust. And they came to the Western Hemisphere, they tried to bring people to Cuba, and Cuba wouldn't take them. The United States wouldn't take them. Nobody would take them. So what they do? They turned around and sent them right back again. And that's what the governor of Texas wants. He doesn't want the Haitian refugees, because when they talk about bringing your tired and your poor, that they have come from immigrants who came to this country for a better life, and this country welcomed them with open arms, right? Well, maybe not. Maybe they just don't remember. But they think it's okay for them to be here. They have a right to be here, but no one else has a right to be here. And it's so important for us to have places like the American Museum, Holocaust Museum, to remind us, so we see the stories, we hear the stories, and we learn not to repeat those same mistakes. So I was wondering, why am I here in Washington, D.C.? If this is the only reason I came here, was to stand on my soapbox and tell you this, and remind you that the Holocaust was not a fake story. God's people are everywhere, and they wear all kinds of skin colors, not just the white ones. We're here to do God's work. And if you worship the God of love and light, this God wants us to love each other, not bring each other down with our cutting comments, not take things from people of color just because we think we're entitled to them, not try to kill people because they're doing so much better than us and we're just looking for somebody to blame for all our misery instead of taking responsibility for our own bad actions. If this is the only reason I came here, to do this one video and to do my little rant, it was worth it. It was worth it freezing. And in truth, I'm grateful. I'm grateful that God has provided for me, that I am safe. As long as I follow my divine path, I am safe. Which is not what I can say for these people. 6 million Jewish people and other people, political dissenters. People with sexual orientations that were not considered acceptable. All these people were oppressed by the Nazis. And, whether you want to acknowledge it or not, Hitler was an Antichrist. And he was just one of many. If there's a whole bunch of chosen people out there, you better believe the devil's going to have more Antichrists than just one. So that's my sermon. And that's me sharing my experiences at the Holocaust Museum today. Think about what I've had to say today, and think about the Holocaust and its impact. And please, please, do not forget.